My thing is like, don't judge me by my efforts, judge me by my results. Because I'm tired of people like, oh, I work so hard. It's like, okay, what does that mean? What did you accomplish, right? Like, oh, I was here till midnight. Great. What did you do? You should have only been there for an hour. You didn't need to be there for till midnight if you were effective. So to me, at the end of the day, everything's about results.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, and you're listening to Soul and Science. Fast forward your marketing mind in about 20 minutes. Welcome to the podcast. I am joined by Josh Taekman, founder and CEO of EBOOST, and good friend of mine and good friend of the podcast. Josh Taekman serves as the founder and CEO of EBOOST, an early innovator and industry leader in the natural supplement and wellness space. An entrepreneur at heart with multifaceted specialties, Taekman began his career co-founding Bad Boy Entertainment. Poof, everyone knows that one. He served as VP of Marketing, spearheading endorsements, cross-promotional opportunities, and partnerships with outside artists like Jay-Z, Lauryn Hill, Eminem, Busta Rhymes, 50 Cent, and many, many more. Taekman also worked closely with Sean P. Diddy, Puffy, Combs, and orchestrated his non-music oriented ventures, including co-creating and producing the infamous White Party, Sean John Clothing, Lincoln Sean John Navigator, and C-suite relationships with Forbes 500 companies. He is an executive producer of Netflix's recent documentary, Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell, which I watched with my kids, and it was freaking great. Today, he focuses on EBOOST, the first of its kind natural energy and recovery ready-to-drink beverage named Best New Product of 2019 by BevNet. EBOOST is now sold in over 4,000 locations all across the United States of America. You can follow Josh on social media at JM Taekman. That's JMTAEKMAN. Thanks for joining us, Josh. We are excited to chat with you. We always have a theme. We always talk about soul and science, which is soul being leading with the heart, science being leading with the head. And then we have a macro theme underneath, which is creating a brand from scratch, which is what you've done a few times, but really now you're focused on EBOOST. So great to have you here, Josh. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate you having me.
Let's dive right in. What is your story? What is the Josh Taekman origin story? Were you a born entrepreneur? Did you become an entrepreneur? Give me your sort of how you fell into where you are today.
You know, I believe I fell into it, or I think I naturally gravitated towards it. I have kind of an interesting past. I was living in LA. I had never been to New York. I've always dreamed of being in New York and visiting. It seemed like just like a whole nother world and a planet. I had total, I think, 3 friends that lived in New York. And I mean friends, like people I could pick up the phone and stay at their house if I needed to. I was going to DC for a trade show. My buddy moved to New York to model. I said, hey, I'll come to New York first and then take the train to DC. Got to New York, was absolutely mesmerized by it, was sitting in Soho eating Gentle Ben's pizza or Famous Ben's pizza and drinking a beer on the street on West Broadway. And I'm like, how am I not living in this city? And my buddy goes, you know, if you move here within 21 days, you could stay at my place as long as you want for free. You know, just testing me and challenging me, basically calling me out. So I literally went to the trade show in DC, came back, resigned, collected my like $3,700 in commissions. At the time at like 23, that seemed like a lot of money, or 24. Returned my leased car, drove all my stuff from Santa Monica to Northern California, and bought a one-way ticket to New York to sleep on his hardwood floor. And I got there, I think, in 13 days.
How long were you on the floor for?
I was on the floor for probably 2.5, 3 months.
Damn.
By the way, it was a parquet floor. The shit was the most uncomfortable.
When you were 23, had the blow-up mattress been invented yet?
No, it did not. I literally slept on a parquet floor.
Damn. Parquet is the bottom of the wood hierarchy.
Yes.
And then, like, how'd you get into the hip-hop industry and music?
I grew up in Danville, Northern California, which is like literally the most suburban, lily white area that you could grow up in. But for some reason, I think it was Rapper's Delight. When I was like 11, that song just stuck with me and I loved it. And I found myself sneaking off to Oakland Coliseum when I was 12, 13, 14, going to things like Fresh festivals and hip hop concerts. My parents had no idea I was going to them. I mean, you know, people are getting beat up, people are getting stabbed, people are getting shot at. And I live in this little lily white protected area in Danville, and I'm exposing myself to the stuff in Oakland. Back then, Oakland was, a much tougher place, but I just was enamored with the music and the culture and the lifestyle. And for some reason, I just loved it. And so that kind of stuck with me from my childhood all the way through college.
Rapper's Delight, which was from the Sugar Hill Gang.
That's right. And I bought the vinyl, and I had a little player, and I would play it in my room every day.
And so fast forward to you're on your friend's hardwood floor. You love Rapper's Delight. You were a salesman. You're in this amazing new city. And what does the 23-year-old Josh do first?
Go out every single night. I literally got myself acclimated with New York City, and literally, I think I went out 7 nights a week, and quickly blew through my $3,700. And I'm like, shit, I got to get a job. So I ended up taking, a few miscellaneous jobs. And then I met a guy at a tennis tournament in Miami who was going to be the new president of Bad Boy. And I basically, had a good conversation, hung out with him. And I came back and I cold called him. And I said, listen, you're well aware there's a guy named Steve Rifkin that owned Loud Records, but he created a marketing company called SRC, where he was literally selling his knowledge and access in hip hop to corporate America and helping them credibly integrate their products or message into the hip hop community. He was really that bridge. And I said, I want to do what Steve's doing, but do it on the Bad Boy platform. And so Jeff was kind enough to take a meeting with me. I presented him the whole concept. He said, I love it. I see what Steve's doing. There's a huge opportunity. And I said, and Puffy's a brand. Like this kid is about to be a monster, from the production side and the artist side and the artist that he had on his label. I'm like, this guy is going to break through and be a phenomenon. I just knew it. He just had that it thing. And so we sat with Puffy, and I gave him my little business plan, and he thought everything looked great until the very end, where I put $2,000 a month. And he's like, I thought he was going to laugh, like $2,000 a month. Like, who in the world could live on 2,000, especially in New York City? I think my rent was $2,000 a month. And he's like, you want me to pay you $2,000 a month? And I'm like, I just want to show you I'm committed and willing to go all in. And he goes, get the fuck out of here. I ain't paying you shit. You eat what you kill. When you make me money, that's when you can eat. And I go, well, how do I live and pay my bills? He goes, that's not my problem, Playboy. That's yours.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I just like, whoa, that kind of slapped me in the face. I just looked in the mirror and I said, in life, how many times do you have an opportunity to do what you want to do? And sometimes you just have to find a ray of light and an opportunity to get inside the door and be in the mix. And if you're talented, then you have an opportunity to shine, and people can take notice. So I basically said, listen, Jeff, who was the CEO or the president at the time, I said, if I need you to come on a meeting, come on a meeting. And I just need a desk and a phone, and I'll figure it out and make it work.
And you did?
And I did. I started in the mailroom.
How did you survive in the early days?
My roommate worked at Hugo Boss. And so I was able to do some stuff for her on the weekends to help, at least generate some money. I'm pretty sure I hit my parents up for some cash. I would do some PA work, on the weekends if there's music videos or something, and I could work on them. I was just hustling, everything but selling drugs.
And then after that job, what was your next job?
My next job after that was I left and started a marketing agency called Buzztone. It was basically doing what I was doing at Bad Boy, kind of at the intersection of brands and entertainment and talent, kind of experiential marketing. No like traditional advertising, just all experiential marketing and partnerships. Did that for about 5 or 6 years, had an office in New York and LA. We had about 30, 40 people, grew it to a nice business, and I had a partner, and she was based in LA. But it was the service business. And the service business after a while.
And then you went back to the music business?
No. So I was doing Buzztone, and then this gentleman came to me from the supplement industry and said he wanted to create a line of vitamins for the urban marketplace. Because, urban music was, the number one music format. And, these hip hop artists were starting businesses, and overnight they're $30, $40 million businesses because they had such influence over their community. Pretty much what I saw Puffy being able to build brands overnight because he controlled the media and he was on MTV so often. And that was the main source of content and influence for pop culture. So hip hop artists had such a competitive advantage. They would talk about the brands that they supported or launched in their music. They would show up on MTV, holding their bottle of liquor or wearing their clothing brand. So it was really product placement at its finest back in that day that they controlled. They could control the outcome because they controlled the content. So at BuzzTone, this guy Mel Rich came to me and said, "I want to create this product for the urban market," and he had zero taste in marketing brand. He was just a great contract manufacturer with actually the right idea. And I said, instead of trying to start it from scratch, I said, there's this kid in hip hop that literally, I think he eats protein shakes all day long and, only works out. His name's 50 Cent. And this kid is a monster. And people want to look like him, like he just came out of prison, not necessarily like he just came out of Gold's Gym. I said, that's the look this urban market's looking for. No legs and big upper body, lean, long muscles. So I said, he's got this whole brand called G Unit. I said, let's create G Unit supplements, G Unit vitamins with 50 as the face of it.
Nice.
And he had no idea who 50 was or what I was talking about.
And how long did you do that for?
We had the deal done. I had everything done in this joint venture partnership. And there was one meeting left to have before 50 left to go to Europe for like 3 months on tour. And it was a Friday, and Mel's office was like exit like 47 in Long Island, and 50's at a photo shoot in New Jersey, and typical hip hop fashion. Like, of course I'll be at the meeting, and then as the day of the meeting comes, it's like I'm stuck in Jersey. I'm not going to make it. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, this is the most important meeting because he's got samples for you to try, and you're about to leave to go out of town for 3 months. And this guy's not used to working with the hip hop community. Like when someone says they're going to be at a meeting, they show up.
Right.
Unless they got sick or got hit by a car. So his expectation is you are going to be in his office as you agreed to. And anything short of that will fuck this deal up. And sure enough, he didn't show up.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm there and I'm like, biting my fingernails. And Mel's like, that just means this isn't that important to him. So, my gut tells me he's not a guy I want to be in business with.
So that fell apart?
That fell through. And then I was, commiserating with one of my best friends, and we just were talking about the market. Like at the time, there was no music industry marketing type of angles in the supplement industry. It was just a straightforward muscle head, traditional massive category, but no one was using pop culture marketing or talent to bring that product to life. So we just ideated. So why is there no healthy energy powder? There's plenty of Red Bulls and Monsters. And then there's this product Airborne that a school teacher created that, had really taken off in the powdered format. And then there was Emergency, which was a real natural channel preventative, supplement with mostly vitamin C. And in Europe, there's this really cool product called Baraka.
I love Baraka.
Exactly. So we're like, why isn't there a hybrid of all those? If something was healthy, natural, that gave you energy, supported your immunity, gave you all your essential vitamins, and then focus. It's like, I want something that makes me alert. And there's supplements that will help with your alertness. I said, what if we put it all into one product and called it EBOOST?
I love that. And so you started it in 2007 with John McDonald.
Yep.
I remember when it came out, actually, because it came out, it used to be in like hotels. Like I lived in San Francisco and I'd stay at like, I don't know, the Soho Grand or something like that. And there'd be like the EBOOST packet in the hotel room. And I just remember seeing that arrow going up. I started seeing it everywhere. It was very original. The market at the time, it was, if you feel like you're about to get sick, take this. It wasn't performing at a higher level. And I think that's what EBOOST did that was fresh.
Yeah, I mean, that was our whole thing. It's like, feel great, do more. Like, why would you not take something that's almost like your what was it, spinach for Popeye? Like,
Right.
Why wouldn't you take something that could give you a competitive advantage every day? Healthy lift of energy and focus, all your essential vitamins and minerals. It was like a way better version of coffee with more functional benefits.
So you started EBOOST, and I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, did a partnership with Arizona, and you're trying to take on, the energy category is $16 billion, and you're competing with Red Bull and Monster that are global and have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend in marketing. How do you feel like your smaller challenger brand can compete with the big boys?
I mean, you can't, to be honest with you, you can't compete at their level. They're 800-pound gorillas. And unless you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you truly can't compete with them at that level. But, with a $16 billion category, there's plenty of space, in the lower hanging fruit area. So, as everything is about community. You got to create a product that a community naturally gravitates towards. And that's just by creating experiences and creating a product that's quality first and foremost.
Yeah.
At the time I thought, early on, I'll say we were disruptive in our packaging. We stood out. We were totally different. Even when we launched this drink, 2.5 years ago, it was a little bit different. But today, great design is fucking table stakes across every category and every product. So it's really, really hard to stand out in that marketplace because everyone is bringing great design, aesthetic, and storytelling to every product in every category. I don't care which one it is. So it's really hard to stand out in that. I feel like I missed that window early on because I had it,
Yeah.
but I just didn't have the capital or the operational expertise to like figure out how to scale it up. So trust me, I'd do 1,000 things different, as we all would, when you look at, 10 years later. But I think we've been scrappy, right? Like we're a scrappy brand. And so when you're scrappy, I felt like a street marketer. I mean, I've spent my whole last 10 years just handing out free product to people and carrying it around in my pockets and passing it out. And to your point, like the perception was EBOOST was everywhere, right? Because you flew Virgin America and we were on there. You stayed at
Yeah.
the W Hotel and we were in there. You
Yeah.
went and worked out at Equinox and we were there. And you went to Whole Foods in New York or LA and we were in there. But the truth was, those were the only places we were in. Our
Right.
distribution was so small and limited. But to people like me and you that travel quite a bit, and New York, LA, San Francisco, it felt like we were everywhere. So the perception, the brand was always bigger than it was.
How do you think like building a brand from scratch? Do you have any like, I don't know, two or three like things that you keep in mind, or someone that's building a brand from scratch today that?
Yeah, I think quality of product and making sure that you've got proof of concept in terms of taste. Taste is everything. Efficacy is everything. I think the other thing, a mistake I made early on, I just sprayed and prayed. You just throw product everywhere and try and be everywhere. I think the opposite, go an inch wide and a mile deep, go into a community and really dominate in that community. So for like us in New York, fitness is kind of our thing. We've really entrenched ourselves in the fitness community. Just be micro focused because it's really hard to make an impact in multiple markets, no matter how big your company is.
Yeah.
Build that core foundation because if you do, it'll like never go away. And then you build off of that and then you replicate that in another city. And too often people think just like getting distribution is the answer. And I'm like, that's actually a liability, right? Like you can go into all these retail stores and if that product does not come off the shelf, guess who's eating it? You are. And guess if you're ever going to go back into that retailer, not a chance. You
Right.
can't afford to fail. So you're better off being smaller, more concentrated, and more focused and prove out velocities, prove out success, and then go to the next one. And then you're laser focused and you're not distracting yourself. And you really are able to, zero in and learn a lot from that customer too. Because a lot of people don't have self awareness. They think they want to keep hammering you with the message because they believe that's the right message. Your consumer is going to tell you what the message is
Yeah.
that works. And if you don't listen to the consumer and take their feedback, then you're kind of, operating on your own agenda. And that's not how you build success.
How much has social media or influencers, like how much does that play into how a challenger brand can grow?
Honestly, it's more important than ever. I mean, you can look and you can point to 200 different examples of brands that were built through influencers and social media with no traditional media. And then you also have opportunities just for like a moment that goes viral that you can't plan for, like what was the guy on the skateboard with the cranberry juice? Like if someone said, Jason, here's $10 million, create that for me, you couldn't. It just happened.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
It just happened, and it literally changed the business dynamics for Ocean Spray through that virality. So that's the beauty of social media, is those moments can happen.
Lightning in a bottle, and you gotta keep swinging until you get one out of 100 that might catch like that. You got to keep swinging because you don't know. When do you feel like eBoost will be? It's never done because an entrepreneur's journey is you're never satisfied. You're always
Yep.
you're always grinding it. What do you see like 2, 3, 5 years? Where would you like to see eBoost go?
I believe eBoost is a product that could sell in all channels and have success in all channels. So I think when we literally can be in mass and the product is pulling itself off the shelf organically, just from whatever we've done to lead up to that point, to me, that's success. That means you've really built a brand and you've got a community and you have an audience that's pulling for your product. Red Bull, Monster has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to have that kind of success.
You have a really dedicated team at eBoost. How much, when you and the team are trying to continually to build the brand and innovate with new products and try to get to that next step, how much of it do you fly with your gut instinct, and how much of it do you rely on, what we talked about, like some research and insights and audience conversations? Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're less science and more gut.
Yeah.
Our science is talking to our community and getting feedback. And I think, we have a good communication loop with enough people to get a sense and a read from kind of a dynamic mix of people that, we're thin slicers, right? Like, I don't need to do, a 10,000 person research study to tell me if that's the right flavor. We're thin slicers. We use a lot of our own instinct.
All the sort of hip hop work that you've done in the past, has that helped you build the company? Is that more sort of still side hustle stuff, or do you think that contributed to what you're building at eBoost?
Oh, 100%. I mean, hip hop taught me how to hustle and taught me that everything, the answer no just should never exist in any scenario. So it taught me to be just relentlessly um, diligent on getting what I want, whatever that is. So when people say no, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, or it's not possible. I hate not possible. I'm like, what do you mean it's not possible? Of course it is. You force yourself to figure out to get the end goal that you had, that you set out to get. So I think you're just more passionate, more persistent. You got more angles, and you think differently. You literally are forced to think differently coming from the music industry because it really is a different way of marketing, and you're dealing with people and their emotions, and their taste profile. So it's a little bit different of a traditional model. So I think it's been helpful, and then I think that is contagious within your community of people that work with you.
One thing that I think about as I hear you talk is you also should have your main priority, like where 80% of your action is. Yours is eBoost.
Yeah.
But getting that entrepreneurial spirit where you're also doing like other investments, you're always connecting people. You just did that documentary. You always have other passion points that take up like that other 20% of your time. Do you think that's a for other entrepreneurs something that helps you be better at your main gig?
I think, listen, I'm not an operator. So part of my challenge is I love shiny objects. So I can also distract myself with that stuff, but I need that to keep me alive. Like, I'm not a guy that could sit and turn off my phone and just focus on building, a deck or a worksheet, or like, that's just not me. That's not my strength. So I got to surround myself with people that can do that. But there are certain guys, I know some guys that just can go and build a company and sell it and then go build another company and sell it. Like, I actually wish I could be that guy because they are 100% focused, and they got 3 exits under their belt, and I'm still grinding on one. If there was one thing I would do differently, I would have found a right hand person that was like the killer operator that understood me, and they could do all the heavy lift and the execution and the operations and just let me be me. And I probably would have had 1 or 2 exits if I had that person, day one along my side.
That's great for starting a brand from scratch for people to hear. Know your blind spots, supplement them with other people, and don't try to think you can learn a bunch of new skills because you can't do it all. I think that's a great takeaway. I also love that you're kind of always hustling mentality, and there's always a new way to do something. There's always a new idea, and that don't take no attitude turns 4 out of 10 no's into yeses when you don't take no. You end up getting there with not everything, but enough things to make a difference. All right, 3 more questions. They'll be very quick. What do you think as an entrepreneur is the most rewarding part of starting a company? Because I've done it. It is a struggle. What is the flip side of that hard part? What do you think the rewarding part is?
I think, for me personally, I wish I was, only focused on money, because I probably would have ran the business differently. But I was more focused on reward, like how people felt and the feedback I would get when people took the product, or if it transformed their life. Or I would get emails from women that were men that were doing chemotherapy and had, a stage of cancer, and say, the only thing I look forward to taking every day is my EBOOST. It's the only thing that makes me feel good. And when I hear that just fuels me up. Like, nothing gets me more excited when I hear people say something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think when I hear that it has a positive impact on someone, and it's beneficial to them, and it helps them in their day or their life, then to me that's success. That means you've created something that's impacting.
Do you have a favorite mantra or quote that keeps you hustling, that keeps you grinding, or that you always go back to?
My thing is, like, don't judge me by my efforts, judge me by my results. Because I'm tired of people like, oh, I work so hard. It's like, okay, what does that mean? What
Yeah.
did you accomplish, right? Like, oh, I was here till midnight. Great. What did you do? You should have only been there for an hour. You didn't need to be there until midnight if you were effective. So to me, at the end of the day, everything's about results.
And do you have a role model that you look up to that either influenced you in business? Because I believe in modeling behavior from people that you admire
For
and
sure.
learning those skills. Do you have someone in your life that did that for you?
Well, I would say definitely someone like Puffy. I
Yeah.
definitely am inspired by him, because he literally, whatever he wanted, he would be relentless and whatever it took to get what he wanted. So I zeroed in on that and really appreciated that he just pushed and forced everyone around them to elevate their game. So I learned a lot from him, for sure. And then I think, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar a long time ago, and it still sticks with me. I mean, he just tells you it as it is. It's like, you know what, you have weeds in your backyard. They're just not magically going to disappear. Get
Right.
on your gardening gloves and go out and pick the weeds. And it's hard work, but that's the only way to make them go away. And I just like his straightforward approach. And I just think he's such an incredible communicator and orator, that he just speaks the truth to me. It really resonates, and it motivates me.
Where would you send people that are listening to try eBoost? Because I absolutely love it. I think you were on QVC and I ordered a case of it on QVC.
Yes, I love. First of all, I love you for that. Thank you. So the good news is earlier on you said we were in 4,000 doors. Now we're in over 12,000 doors.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, we just launched in 7,500 CVSs across the country.
Okay.
So now, literally for the first time ever, eBoost is in almost every city in the country, because there's 7,500 CVSs around the country. So CVS is definitely the easiest place for you to get it, other than our website or Amazon.
Anything else in closing that you feel like you haven't said or you want to pass on that might be useful to the listening audience?
I'll say this, because everyone talks about, like, oh, I should be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has the resilience or the pain threshold. There's a lot of pain with being an entrepreneur. So just make sure, if you go down that path, you don't leave your job for it. Create some proof points to know that there's an audience for your product and that you can build it. And also try and never put yourself in a situation where you don't make money, where you sacrifice, and don't go into your life savings. Do not go into your life savings. And that's a big mistake a lot of people make. They start a business, they left their job, and they're so far in, and their only chance of keeping it going is funding it themselves. And that puts them in a really uncomfortable position. So I would say be very careful about going down that path, because if you are the right operator and you have the right idea, you should build enough proof points that you could raise some money around the idea or make it self-sustainable, because now there's no barrier to entry to build a product and have it sold. There's so many
Yeah.
marketplaces. But listen to your customer. At the end of the day, the customer votes with their wallet, and that's the person that you're depending upon to be attracted to your product. So the customer's voice is the most important voice.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Josh. This was really fun. Starting a brand from scratch, always hustle, don't take no, and it's all about the results. That's a couple things I learned from you today. So thanks for joining us on the pod.
I'll say one last thing. It's never no, it's just not now.
That's true. It's a no for now.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to get that to a yes.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, Tyler Nielsen, Emma Swanson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.